Test 1 2. We're recording. We're live. That's different. No, so we're not live.
We're live.
We can cut all this. We're alive, which is a really exciting thing to be here on this beautiful Thursday morning in Willimantic. Welcome to the Daily Joe Fraudcast, the podcast here where we talk about all the things we love in town, things that maybe we want to make a change on, and discuss what that process would even look like. Making change sometimes can be pretty overwhelming, but taking it in small doses and small steps, I think we can get there.
Well, the first step is just paying attention and asking, and we're going to talk about some of those, and we get some ideas already.
I love that. Yeah, we have a lot of ideas, and actually so do a lot of the community. I found a lot of activity has been going on in Willimantic today, so I think this is a great time to jump right into our segment called Willimantic Today.
I got to interest myself, and we have a guest too.
Oh, before we jump in, we should introduce someone very special.
I'm
Joe
with us. I live out in South Windham, and I got myself involved in a few different things here and there, and hopefully I can bring some of that perspective. And we have today actually is the Daily Joe podcast, because we have two dailies here. We got Mike Daly.
Two dailies, yeah.
From South Portland.
Yeah, so all the way down from Maine.
Would you say it's a daily double?
Yeah, that's right. It's a daily double.
Yeah, Mike, tell us about yourself.
So I'm up from the Portland area in Maine. I've been into the Strong Towns conversation the last year or two and going to all my town's transportation committee meetings to get a sense of how we can improve our town and make it better and more resilient going forward.
That's great. And when you say strong towns, that's something that Steve and I have been talking a lot about, and I think that's a conversation that will be new to Windham and Willimantic. And for those who listen to this show, it's going to come up repeatedly because we're firm believers in a lot of the concepts there.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ideas coming out of that organization. It's kind of a new paradigm shift for how, I thought about our town and how you can really make that change to make it great.
We'll jump into that in our journey segment, but first we got Willimantic Today, where we poach from Willimantic Today and maybe the Chronicle and other local sources to, kind of get some current buzz. And we have a topic. There are multiple posts. There was, a man whose kayak was taken, but then it came back. There's another person who was asking about mandatory training. But the question that we latched onto came from Frankie Rivera, and he asked, "What is the town missing? What business would you like to see? New restaurant, deli, bar, hookah lounge, etc." Comments below. It sounded like maybe Frankie is considering opening up a business, possibly. So that's always encouraging when people, poll the community to see what might work. And so here
getting that community feedback is huge.
And he got 110. He got 110 comments.
Oh, I have 294 on mine.
294. Oh, maybe there's multiple ones.
Maybe it's top level comments versus sub comments.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
This guy knows how Facebook works. Nice. Yeah, that's an amazing feedback. Frankie, thank you for asking that question. And it's so cool to see all the different ideas that people have. It looks like there could be a lot of demand for a lot of different things here in town. Of course, we got the typical dollar store requests from people. Maybe another Burger King. But in all seriousness, there was some great ideas in there that it really got me thinking. Joe, what was something that jumped out to you?
Well, I posted on there something. So it's that area of Main Street where the two buildings are getting renovated. That's going to be a lot more populated. I think we're going to see that whole corridor of closed up buildings just popping open. You got hundreds of people really moving in to that space.
Yeah,
and so
hundreds.
They're going to need something in the morning,
downtown,
like a grounded
on Main Street.
Like you could have something like grounded, a coffee shop that's on the other side, another one down there. I mean, more of those would be better. There could be something in the lunch space. I think Cordoba does a great lunch business.
They have a great selection of food there.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
love it.
I saw you going in there and came out with 2 armfuls of of food not too long ago.
Yeah.
And then in the evening, you saw what Trigo did. They opened up that beautiful bar and kind of simpler, accessible food.
Yeah.
And they've been going gangbusters right from the get-go. So I think you have some models already for what could work. And the thing about those kinds of businesses is it's like if you have 2 or 3 of them, it starts to create a scene.
Yeah. And once you have a scene, now you
Everybody's
have
coming.
local people, but also now you're having people from out of town that are traveling to Willimantic to, quite frankly, spend their money and enjoy the town.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I talked about me, but I didn't answer your question about what other people
Well,
contributed.
the other thing that I want to add to that is outside of like the food scene, with all the people living there, you're just gonna need businesses for people actually living in the area. So like barbers, dentists, like corner stores for little markets.
Do we have any barbers downtown?
Yeah,
We have quite a
Do
few
we have a
barbers, but that's great. Hey, that's great. Everyone needs their haircut. That is awesome.
Everyday things.
Yeah.
that
No, but
people
like
need
you're
to shop
saying,
for.
yeah, absolutely. The dentists and people put in here about Goodwill, Savers,
Yeah,
and
I thought that was.
Salvation
I
Army.
thought that was. That was a. We had one that was further down Main Street, and that was pretty popular. I thought. I was surprised it shut down. Maybe it was too big.
I'm not sure any of the logistics around it, but it does seem. I mean, we go out to Manchester for those things, so I know we would use it. I would think a lot of other people would too. I don't know if that would compete directly with Bliss that does their thrifting.
Somebody mentioned that Bliss they thought was a little higher end.
Yeah.
So when you think about like Salvation Army thrift store,
It's a different
little
market.
more accessible. You think about all the college students.
No,
When
yeah.
I was in college, like that's the only place I ever bought my clothes, and my wife would be the first one to tell you that it showed, but that was probably because of my selection.
But it also worked.
Like you could go in there, and you get jeans for a few bucks, and so I think that would appeal to, you think about like the artistic crowd that we're starting to draw. We got 2 colleges. There's a lot of youth in town, so I think that's some kind of thrift store / cafe, maybe could work.
A little
pretty
combo,
well.
yeah. Well, I like the idea of having another coffee shop or cafe downtown that just, kind of spreads out and maybe has more indoor seating for people. I remember being in New London when I was working on the boat, and every time we'd come in, we'd go and, to this coffee shop that had a couch and a great atmosphere and tons of room for everyone to kind of just mill about and spend their morning congregating and talking, and that was really, really nice.
I saw a bookstore a lot in there too.
Yeah, a lot of people with a bookstore, which I love a good bookstore as well. I've been going to the library a lot, just from a personal level, to where, I don't know if you guys know, but you can get books for free. And they'll order anything you want. It's pretty incredible.
I think with a great bookstore, there's a different vibe than
There
library.
is, there
and maybe
is.
the library should pick up some of the bookstore vibe.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, the bookstore vibe could be found. I think in the library, I think you're still going to have people, and I do get it. Like, you still want to have some books that you own and that you can put notes in. You can bend the pages down, dog-earing it, and really, books do become a pretty special thing to you. So I do understand the bookstore thing as well. I guess lately, with the kids, I've been like, oh my goodness, I'm really happy that I get to have this and then give it back, and then get something new.
People seem to be split in the feedback between local, like keep it local, and people calling out their favorite chain restaurants.
Yeah, and that is pretty interesting. I think I really love the local vibe that I think Willimantic does have. And you go to some other places and towns, and it is just, it's chains. It's chains everywhere, and that's good for, I guess, familiarity. When you're passing through, you know what you're going to get.
What would be your reaction if, a chain restaurant, came in to some of those spots down there?
I'd be happy that they were filled.
Yeah.
So there's that. Would I prefer a smaller local business? I would, with more local charm and character. I think that's a big part of what our town is. but I would definitely take, something just to fill that space.
I mean, I could imagine, those like the big apartment building opening up. It's got first floor commercial. It's an out of town developer putting in something that's more regional. I think he said at one public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So even something that's regional would be a lot preferable to something that's totally national chain.
Yeah.
I think that just kind of, I don't know, it makes it less special to be down there. It's less of an attraction because it's a commodity.
You can get that anywhere.
You can get it anywhere.
Right, and when you start having that commodity business, everyone's just competing on what the cheapest thing you can do, rather than the value that you get.
That's right. Or like then you start grousing about convenience. Like, oh, I gotta walk. I gotta park across the street over by the community center and across the street, and
Right.
And those things start to become more important.
Right. I'm not. If I'm looking for a quick bite to eat, I'm not willing to walk 10 minutes to get to a Subway. But if I have to park to get to, an awesome local diner,
like
people
the
are
deli
hanging
that
out,
makes the best
and there's
subs
some
in the
music.
region.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Do you call them subs? What do you call them?
Grinders.
Grinders?
Grinders.
Grinders, yeah.
Yeah. We grew up in Willimantic, I don't know if you know.
Yeah,
That's what we call
I'm a Buffalo boy.
Yeah.
All right, that's the Willimantic Today segment. Now we're gonna dial into that Strong Towns vibe, right? We're talking about the journey. I guess maybe that
the vibe, the process.
What do we call this segment?
Yeah.
The journey.
Documenting the journey.
Documenting the journey.
Yes. So the journey, I guess the journey is about the change, right? Any journey that you go on, you're starting at point A, and you're ending at point B. But what the heck happens in the middle?
Right. How do you do that?
How do you do that? How do we get from where we are now to where we want to be? People had all these great suggestions about different businesses they want to bring in or are interested in supporting, but really what they're saying is, we want to create a vibe.
It's good. It's good thing we're experts
downtown.
Are we experts?
I think. I mean, we're wearing glasses. So.
we are definitely not experts.
No.
We have a blueprint from Strong Towns, and we're going to try it out.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's all we can do, and I think that's all anyone can do. That's a really good point, Joe. And I don't think we can say that enough. We're idiots. As far as knowing what to do.
I think we have people that will vouch for that.
We are not well versed in any of this. We're kind of citizens, just like everyone else, trying to figure it out and make it day by day. But let me get right to it. So there's 4 steps of this journey of change, and step 1 is just humbly observing where people in the community struggle. And you can do that by watching other people. You could take a walk downtown yourself and think about, where did I just, have a hard time getting from A to B, or where did I have a time getting some service that I need in my life. That's step 1, is just seeing, okay, what is this gripe? I mean, people have those, right? You've been on Facebook.
Hey, people have them right from their cars.
Yeah.
They're looking and they can see it plain as day.
Right.
But you have to notice.
You have to notice,
you have to look
and
you
notice. Have to really take that to heart. And instead of maybe just complaining about it, then step 2 is asking the question: what is the next smallest thing that we can do right now to address that struggle?
That's right, and that sometimes means going to that block, seeing somebody who just struggled, even asking that person like what would make this a little easier, a little less dangerous.
A little less dangerous.
Getting outside of our own heads and just asking people that actually experience the challenge on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah.
That takes a lot of courage, I think. I think that's a simple thing, but I think that's a big part of why this process would work.
Sure, with that connection that you're making with someone
exactly.
that is having that struggle. I do want to add, if you're having that struggle, I think it's fair to ask yourself that question, and then move on to step 3.
Right. Yep.
Which is step 3, do that thing. Do it right now. Do that one simple thing. It's the smallest thing to address the struggle, not worrying about the outcome, and attaching to the outcome too much. Just be dedicated to doing that one thing and doing it right away.
Right. We might not know if it's effective or not, but it's the best thing that we can imagine to do. It's like, maybe I'll call somebody. Like, I don't even know who to call. well, maybe I'll talk to somebody who might know somebody.
Right. Right.
Or it might mean, I'm going to put,
A cone in the middle of the
cone
road.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Like some. We'll talk about sort of tactical urbanism and that concept.
Yeah.
And then what's the fourth step?
Fourth step is it's a big one. It's repeat.
That's it. It's
Do
that
it again.
simple.
Do it again.
So it's
Yeah.
it's being humble enough to look and listen to what's going on, thinking about the next smallest step we can do to improve the situation, and then actually doing it,
Actually doing it,
and then
Amazing.
seeing what happens. Repeat. The repeat is like, okay, what did I learn from those 3 steps, and repeat.
Yeah, and the thing that I want to add to that is when you're thinking about what the next smallest step is, it's really small steps. It's things that wouldn't take the town to go through an engineering review board or anything to get it out. It should be quick and easy to get done, so that way you're taking all these small little risks throughout town, see how those are actually helping people out, and they're quick to take away if they're not working, like you guys are saying with a cone. You can just pull it if it's like, this didn't do the trick. Let's try a different thing.
Yeah, it's like experimenting almost.
Yeah.
It's like let's at least try something
Right.
that we think might work.
But it's a small risk, high reward.
What
Do a lot of that.
Thomas Edison, failed 99 times, and the whole time, so every time he failed, he was one step closer.
Yeah, you learn a little something, and you take that into your next step.
I think it's some of that.
I love it. Yeah, it's
So-
better to risk on a small scale than doing a multi-million-dollar project that you think might address the problem, and then find out,
Exactly.
oh, this didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a wonderful theory,
Right.
and
Right.
so we're gonna put it to the test. We're gonna pick something, and we're gonna keep chipping away, and then reporting on.
We're gonna put our money where our mouth is.
Where we
Yeah.
are in this 4-step process, and how many repetitions we had to go through, and
To get what we
share
what we
our
want.
discovery and frustrations, and hopefully make a change.
Well, can I share a struggle with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
so
got?
this is just something that I struggle with. I have humbly observed other people struggling with it. I know a friend of mine on their way to the house got into a fender bender because of this, and I with my kids walking around the neighborhood, it can be very dangerous and very concerning whenever we're on Lewiston Street. If anyone knows Lewiston and the corner where it segments with North Street or bisects, there's no stop sign coming up from Lewiston. And so cars that are going from Jackson over to High Street, that's one of the closest throughways for them if they're
I
coming.
think you mean church.
Church. It's church.
Oh,
Not
what did I
North
say?
Street.
North.
Oh,
Just
no.
one over.
Oh, we're going to edit that? No.
Go
Oh,
back.
yeah, sorry. One over. So that
Street.
intersection there from Church Street and Lewiston, we could talk about the North Street one too. But that one's not as bad. That one has stop signs. It's awesome. This one doesn't. And so, yeah, cars coming up from Jackson that are trying to get to High Street, I mean, they have a stop sign down at Oak, and then after that, nothing until North.
And it's really hard to see. Sometimes there's cars parked, and I know every time
Mm-hmm.
I'm inching out, and no matter how much I look, there's always a little bit of active faith crossing right there.
Yeah, because it's a little bit curved, it's a little bit downhill,
Right.
so you can't
Visibility's
see
terrible.
very well. There's cars parked on that side of the road there that block you from seeing cars coming up. So from a driver's perspective, driving on Church Street, it's really hard because you
Right.
can't see when a car's coming up, and they're not stopping. Or you might assume they are because every other intersection
yeah.
has a stop sign.
Right.
So you might even think they are if you're not living in that very localized area and really know that intersection. And that's exactly what happened with the person coming to visit me. She inched out, didn't see anyone, went, and bam, car coming up the road hit her. And just 2 months before that, another car came, didn't hit someone, but had to veer away, and they took out the other stop sign that
Right.
is there on Church Street,
Yes.
going the other way. So, I mean, clearly it's an area that is having some issues, and just on a personal level with my kids in the neighborhood. And I got to say, I'm not the only family
No,
that
there's-
walks the block there.
There's a
It's
home daycare right on that
right on
there.
that corner.
You know, there's it's
Yeah.
like, there's a number of apartments, so there are people walking. There are tons of dog walkers.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's kind of a high pedestrian.
And I want to mention too, because of the the block there that goes down to Bolivia and the north, and then the other blocks around like all the way to Summit, and then over to like Washburn area, and Walnut. It's just all of that is a nice quiet neighborhood, and I think because you're walking through that and really getting that vibe, you get to Lewiston, you think it's going to be the same, and you might be casually walking, and all of a sudden, vroom, this car comes up, and I know that's really scared me with my kids a few times, and with myself, and I'm sure other people are experiencing that too. So that is my personal, but also I hope humble observation.
That's
I don't know
the
how humble
observation.
that is.
That's step
It's a
one.
problem that you
That's step
actually
one.
face.
So that's
Yeah.
that's step
Very
one. But
real.
it's I've talked to people in the neighborhood too about that spot, and it's
You have.
I have at least 4 or 5 different dog walkers that have addressed
Really?
that same concern.
Wow. I'm not alone.
No, you're definitely
I'm not alone.
Not alone.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's huge. Okay. Well, that is where I struggle. So that's where I'd like to take this example. If
So what
that's
can we?
okay.
What's the next smallest thing that we could do to address this?
I'm gonna have to do something, huh? The next smallest thing. Well, I guess I think about it in 2 ways. One is we talked about cones. I could put a cone in the road and just make an obstacle for people coming up to swerve around. I don't know, one, how legal that is, and I also don't know. I mean, yeah, if you had a cone there, that it would probably address it in some way, but you could create a new problem if someone hits that or, isn't expecting it, and you cause an accident. So I don't want to do that. I guess I would go the route of figuring out who to contact,
Yeah.
and make that known. So I guess an email and a phone call.
I think in this case we have a town engineer that might be a good person to start with, and that would be a guy by the name of Brian Tarble. He's
Tarble.
relatively new. He started about a year ago. He's a great guy, very active, probably very sympathetic to this conversation. Probably has a backlog of activities that will take him out to 2030.
Oh, okay.
But it would be interesting to see if we could get his perspective on this spot and what he has to say, and maybe what he thinks about how to address that problem. I know a lot of us have thought about a stop sign there,
Right.
and if what he thinks about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
The other thing that I was going to add that you could definitely ask Brian or potentially just Google is check for the Willimantic crash data for the area and see, is that just a big glaring red spot where there's more crashes there compared to the entire top of the hill?
How do you get crash data?
Up in Maine, there's just like a
It's easy.
Maine Department of Transportation website where you can
So
zoom
you
into your
go
town.
to the state
And-
DOT basically.
I'm pretty sure it's hosted by the state DOT.
Is that public? Like if we
Yeah, I mean,
look it
So there's
up?
public
I'm just a
crash
member
data.
of the public. I'm not.
No, that's so
No,
interesting.
No, we brought you on as an expert. I mean, which means you're at least multiples
Right.
more knowledgeable than us.
Yeah, so you should be able to find it, and if it's hard to find, I'm sure Brian would be able to easily pass a link.
Okay.
Because that's usually who passes the link to me is our town engineer, like you're
Okay.
talking about.
All right. Well, I think we have our to do. Do you think it's something that we can? That's our homework.
Yeah, that's our homework. I do
We
want
have, we have two pieces. We got to contact Brian and get crash data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause if-
Well, I do want to harp on the idea of it. What's the one smallest thing? So I want to
Oh.
stick to. I'll do some background research on the data, but I think letting the person that can help you ask, or not just letting them know about the problem, but asking them about their take on the
So
problem.
I think it's
problem
like
is
it's
a
not
step
just
one.
like it's not just sending a message to Brian. It's getting like can we get the town engineer to actually get us an answer? Does that something that happens quickly? Is it as easy as like calling him up and saying, hey, can you tell me what you think? or emailing them, getting a response,
Yeah.
or is it
Mhm.
does it take 3 months to try to get something?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah,
So here's my commitment to the listeners and documenting the journey here. Is I'm gonna email and call, but if I don't hear back, I will follow up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that and we. I don't want to put anyone on blast, but we know where they work, right? So we can go downtown and just
Well,
have a conversation.
we know they're super busy.
We
So,
do know they're really busy.
But
Yeah.
this is what everybody does. This is what people don't know.
Right.
Is how hard is it to actually talk to people
Yeah.
in town?
Right. This is a big step. You just gave me the town engineer's name. I didn't know that before. I don't know who to talk to about
I
this.
know a few things.
You're an insider. Look at
A little
that.
bit.
Oh my
Mike, you're
goodness.
about to
So,
say
so
something.
yeah, what I want to add for like the next smallest step, because as members of the public, I feel like it gets really hard when dealing with road problems, because that's town engineering. That's you can get in trouble for like putting things in the middle of the road. So for me, like the next smallest step would be even something as simple as like, I know up in Maine we have like the little green men statues with the slow children at play, and putting that on the side of the road, so you're not blocking the sidewalk, but you're not really taking up the roadway, and it lets them know you're coming up to this intersection. There's, like you guys said, a daycare on that corner. There's people going to be crossing there, and it just makes the drivers more aware of, hey, I'm starting to speed as I'm trying to go up this hill without even really realizing what they're doing. Because to them, it's just, I'm just driving through this other intersection without a stop
my
sign.
momentum.
A couple
up
of
the hill.
green men up the hill.
Right, just a couple of those guys.
That's a good idea too.
Just send a simple message, and it's easy to implement, but it's not. A stop sign is definitely the better step long term. It's not a long term solution to little green men, but it's the first step.
Nice, I like it. See, look at that.
Look at this.
He knows stuff.
This guy knows stuff.
All right. I think we got to wrap up this segment.
All right. Well, I just want clarity and direction. So, sidewalk, little green person with a sign is the actual next step. I believe I will also email and call. Is it okay to do two things?
I won't tell strong towns.
It's actually 3. All right.
Absolutely.
So those are my
The
next
more- the
steps.
more
We
you
will.
put to
I'll
it.
let you know how it goes, everyone. And if you're thinking about making a change, just think about that process. Humbly observe where the struggle is. Ask yourself what the next smallest thing you can do is, and then do that thing. So immediately after this episode, I'm going to be sending an email, making a call to make sure he got it, and buying a sidewalk person.
Right.
We gotta figure that out. So
All right,
that's not too bad. Awesome.
So our next segment it segues nicely into this. It's talking about street safety, basically. We have a concept that we want to share, and that is that there's a difference between a road and a street. So a road is Route 32 that connects Norwich to Willimantic. It connects South Windham to Willimantic. It's designed to move people and goods quickly and efficiently and safely. That's the function of a road. A street is a place. It's a place where people live. It's a place where people do business. It's a place where people walk and recreate, bike, whatnot. And it should have a very different design that goes with it. It should feel safe in a street. It should feel welcoming. And what we think we see is a lot of road design that's crept into street design. And Strong Towns, the leader of that group is Chuck Maroney. He came up with a name for when you mix up the street and the road design. And it's, what is it called, Steve Daly?
Ding, ding, ding. It's called a strode.
A strode, yeah.
Strode.
It's a mix of a road, and you get the worst of both.
Yeah, it's a dreaded place to spend any of your time.
Yeah. Now we're going to go back to like some evidence of like all out strodes, but for this discussion here, I want to pull it into kind of responding to. It was a post I put out on Willimantic today asking people, if they felt that the balance between being able to conveniently drive through their street or through a street, the balance between that and safety and being able to comfortably, do things on that street.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to just read to you real quickly some of the responses that I got, and I'll name it out. Stephanie Connell writes, Ridge Drive, Orchard Hill Lane, it's a freeway. Speed limit is 15 miles an hour. I didn't even know you could have 15 miles per hour. Tons of kids and fast cars. It's a cut through to Lebanon. Rachel Saunders, corner of Tingley and Prospect. No stop sign. The hospitals, all the way down the hospital, all the way down to the hospital. It's 4 to 5 blocks. People fly. She says that people have gone even like 80 miles an hour.
Wow.
Another person, Boyd Hazard, mentions Summit to Bolivia.
Whoa.
Okay, so you can relate to that. Quads, trail bikes. No one stops at the stop signs. So there's a problem with stop signs. They're not cure-alls. Neither are speed limit signs. Adrian Waite just said Memorial Drive. I didn't follow up on what part of Memorial Drive, but that's kind of, I don't know, it's off closer to Mansfield out that direction. Chapman Street, especially the corner.
Memorial is a cut through, right?
Yeah, and that's
Ash
why
Street to High Street.
Right, and so is it designed as a cut through? But there's a lot of people that a lot of houses there. Chapman Street, especially the corner of Brook Street, there is a 4-way stop. This person says the town can make so much money if they did traffic enforcement.
Yeah.
So there's another example of we put up stop signs and it's
my whole
it's
plan's not
enforced.
going to work. My whole plan is not going to work.
This suggests to me we can expect maybe what that town engineer Brian Tarble might say about stop signs is it's not a panacea. There needs to be something else. Holbrook Avenue. There's a lot of these. There's a lot of streets, and I think we got the tip of the iceberg. People speed up and down the road all day and night, and I'm not just talking 10 miles an hour. I'm talking 50 to 60 miles per hour up and down the hill. Tons of kids, especially in school in session.
Oh, that's Holbrook.
She's calling for speed bumps.
Holbrook's a pretty neighborhoody spot. I don't see that as a cut through.
All right.
So the people speeding there most likely live there?
We might have to go visit. There. Well, we might have to go and observe.
I can't just... Yeah, we'd have to go observe. Yeah, right. I can't just say that.
Or follow
But
up.
that one surprises me
okay, here's another
a little bit more.
Kristen Epps, North Street behind the high school. She's
up the hill.
She's just dumbfounded about why there isn't a sidewalk since there's so many kids that walk there for school and recreation. So sidewalk there.
Right, so that's really interesting. So it sounds like with stop signs being on a lot of these places, I'm still gonna follow through with what I'm working on here.
That's a special project, right?
But for sure, it sounds like stop signs aren't necessarily the answer, and that maybe this comes back to what we were talking about with a street versus a road. Maybe it's more than just the signs we put up, but a little bit more in depth on the design of that space.
Yeah, maybe. The couple that I wanted to mention were trying to cross Main Street by Memorial Park.
Yeah, sure.
I sat there for at least 5 minutes with my 4-year-old trying to cross. And
get down to the farmer's market.
It's like Memorial Park, over by. Yeah, I'm just trying.
Yeah.
I just went across the street to go to the Cumberland.
Okay.
And back.
Yeah,
and it was.
Are there no crosswalks down
there? There's nothing, and there's no.
You have to walk like a quarter mile.
So there really should be something painted there. And the other spot, I'm curious about your thoughts about this, is Jackson Street at Union. So you go across the Frog Bridge, and like right away, there's that little side street. That's Union Street. And so all the people that come from that residential neighborhood, when they're going to walk to downtown, they're going to cut through Gilson.
Yeah.
They're not walking up to the corner
and
then crossing at a busy intersection. They're crossing right there through traffic, and that for a while that was painted as part of the bike bike
You're
lane.
right. I remember
Like
that.
they've taken that away,
wild.
and I think that's just
forgot about
unrealistic to ask people to like go up to the stop sign or go up to the street light.
Yeah, go to Main Street
Yeah,
up to
go to the
Valley.
that busy, crazy,
yeah,
unforgiving
the Frog Bridge
intersection.
intersection.
Yeah, and then cross there.
Yeah.
So I think that was another one that I thought, but I didn't post that one.
Yeah, no, those are all really good examples. And before each one is kind of a case study in its own. But just in the interest of time, and because we have someone like Mike Daly here, we talked a little bit about the street and the road differences. And I think a lot of these areas where people are talking about cars speeding, they're really, in a way, and I don't want to project too much, but it sounds like they wish these were designed more as streets, where it's a place for people to live, walk, and
It's
enjoy
everywhere.
that. Of course, you have a road or a street there so that cars can get through, people get to their homes, but it shouldn't be designed as a throughway or used in that way.
Right.
But
So-
it seems like it's a problem. Just this quick survey. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so many different places. Cars are flying through. We're like, what? What do we do? Like what's?
Yeah,
What are we
that's
doing
that's
wrong?
That's a big question. I mean, I know that's a problem up in my town in Maine as well. Like, this is a thing that's facing a lot of America right now, is how you deal with this. Because at this point, so many of the roads or streets in the towns have been built such that you can go quick to try to give the driver that extra safety in case they make a mistake and crash somewhere. Right? It's keeping them safe. But then it just means they can go faster because now their tolerance for the risk just went down a little because we expanded, gave them that buffer. So now they feel like they can go faster. So
And the faster you go, the more risky it becomes.
right, and so then we need to expand it more. So people have to cut trees in their front lawn. So if they get into a crash, they're not hitting a tree. But now the kids can't play in the front yard. So it's this vicious cycle, and it really becomes a tricky problem because you do need to kind of get the town engineering involved to slow down the streets by adding bump outs with the sidewalk, so cars have to like actually go around something. Because like you guys are saying, putting up stop signs doesn't always work, and you can't really rely on law enforcement either. It'd be nice, but that's not really what you want your law enforcement in your city doing at the end of the day.
Oh, that's really
That's
interesting.
right.
So when you talk about, you can't have enough police officers sit at an intersection and just wait for people.
Yeah.
But you're saying with the bump out, for your example, is you just design the road in a way that physically you have to go a little slower
have to
and be
slow
a little
down.
more aware.
You can't go 80 if you're making a sharp turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
You increase the risk to the driver again, such that they have to slow their speed down and go the speed that the road is meant to be for a street.
Now, when you say increased risk to driver, though, that's gonna that sounds dangerous, sir. And of course, cars are more car accidents than shark attacks. I've heard that stat. So don't be scared of sharks. I don't know.
True.
So we definitely don't want to make anything dangerous for a driver, but I think what you're saying, if I may, is like design the road in a way, not that it's more risky for the driver, but just that the driver, through common sense, would slow down in that space and drive with more care.
Okay.
No, I was way off. I was way off. Make it dangerous.
I mean, I don't want to sound crass at all, but it is that. It is, if the road is not more dangerous, people will drive faster. And the road should not be dangerous if you're going the speed limit.
And when we say road, do we mean street?
Oh, sorry, yes, I mean street. Right? If you're going 25 miles an hour, the street is not dangerous for you to be driving. If you're going 50, it is dangerous for you and everybody around. And when we allow drivers to have that extra risk and that buffer, that puts everybody else in the community at more risk of injury and crashes coming into and hitting people. And
Gotcha.
right?
So
it is
yeah.
moving the risk from the pedestrians and the bicyclists and people outside of the car onto the person who's really imposing the risk on the community.
It's interesting. It seems like
The driver's imposing the risk on the community.
Right, 'cause-
or the neighborhood.
The driver has a tolerance for risk, right? So it's like whatever, you know, I'm gonna get there as fast as I can up to my level of risk tolerance.
No.
And that's, you
Yeah.
know, and the road's going to suggest, you know, it's going to tell me really quickly. It's like, okay, I still feel comfortable driving 35, 40, 45.
It is a level
And
of comfort.
and different people will have different risk tolerance.
Right. But how often do you just get on a road, you start going, and you don't look at the speed limit, and you're going 45 miles an hour, 50, and then you realize the speed limit is 40, and you're like, well, I still feel comfortable.
Exactly.
If I slow down to 40, I feel like I'm going too slow.
Right. I feel I feel that a lot of times.
And so it's just subconsciously the road was not designed correctly for that speed limit.
Right.
And this is probably a discussion for another time, but that comes down to how speed limits are set, where they design a road for how many cars they need to move through it,
Yeah.
and then they take the 80th percentile of the speeds of the cars going and say, that's the speed limit now, opposed to selecting the speed limit that's safe for the community, which is most important for streets like we're talking about, not for like Route 32.
Which is a road.
And then designing for like that 25 mile an hour. It's kind of backwards.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, obviously we can go in lots of different directions on this one, and we will pick this up on other shows, and we'll dive in different directions. But
Before we leave it, Joe, I just wanted to, I guess, bring it full circle in a way to. This comes right back to that whole stop sign project that we're working on. I think it'll be really interesting because my first thought was, oh, we need a stop sign there, but through this discussion, it's kind of clear that that might not be the most effective thing. But I do think bringing the awareness with the little green people is a great idea. But potentially, some other road design changes that, you know, with the involvement of the town or even other things, like I don't know, maybe that's where a cone not in the middle of the road, but, you know, just on the sidewalk, a little tiny bump out might be something.
Just every little thing in the driver's
bring awareness
eyesight.
to the driver that, hey, this is an area maybe I should slow down in.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But the stop sign is definitely a good starting point for cost reasons and the next smallest thing, right? Ideally, you get the street redesigned, but that's
well, I guess
a long-term thing.
I guess
Right.
where I'm going with this is, so this is to anyone experiencing this. It sounds like I'm not alone in having an issue of cars going fast in my neighborhood.
Right.
Right? And I think that's where I'm trying to bring it all full circle. So this is my approach. I'd love to hear from all of you listeners what your approach might be.
That's right. Give us a
And
comment.
share this journey together in a way. Even if we're doing different things, it'd be really interesting to see what is effective. And, you know, once we find that solution, to share it with everyone. And we could really make this a strong town.
All right.
All right.
So I think that's it for Thursday, the 18th,
17th? 17th?
17th
Yeah, we got our dates
of August,
down.
2023.
Beautiful.
Thanks,
wrap.
Mike, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Daily.
Hey, Mr. Joe.
All right. That's
Wonderful.
a wrap.
You want the shot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.